So the first thing I have to say is the bottom has now become the top, and the top has now become the bottom. I mean, you can't really, the bark's not bad. Alrighty, all welcome back to my channel. Of course, my name is Tommy, and this here is the Gallery Backyard Barbecue. And today's show has been one that I have been thinking about now for probably, I don't know, probably more than a year. And today is the day where I am going to get it done. It is going to be all about the brisket. I can tell you, ever since I started this YouTube channel, probably about 9 years or so ago, I have definitely learned a lot about brisket, and I continue to learn this day. One thing for sure is I hate wrapping briskets. I mostly hate wrapping any types of meats, but definitely do not like to wrap briskets. I don't like the way it traps it traps the heat in there. I feel it changes the texture of the meat. So along comes Chud, along comes the boat. And so boating a brisket or just running the brisket out straight out without boating is definitely the way I like to go. Now, look, I know Chud didn't invent the boat, but it is where I saw it first. So he is going to get the credit. And there is one other thing that has annoyed me over the years with brisket is when you cook it on the Masterbuilt or any Z grills or any grill that has the heat source on the bottom, it always seems to dry out the bottom of the brisket. This is mostly a YouTube secret because we don't show it really on video. But when you start slicing the brisket out, the bottom is dry and starts to string. It drives me crazy. So I was thinking again over the past 8 months or a year or whatever, why not flip the brisket fat side down above the heat source, which in turn should render out that fat even more because the heat is just gonna work on that fat. It should render it out more. Also, the top, which was the bottom, but now is the top, that should not string out. That just should stay moist. I'm a little concerned how the bark is going to build up there with the fat on the bottom. And I am really interested in what results I get. So look, the only question here is, have we been cooking brisket wrong all these years? If you are one of those brisket people that cook fat side down, leave it down in the comments. I'd like to hear about it. Other than that, I've got about a 16-pound brisket here on the board. Let's do a quick trim on it. It is not about the trim. I'm just going to do a quick trim, leave plenty of fat there. Then we've got to shovel out the Z grills that is buried in ice and snow, and then we've got to get this show started. Alrighty, and I am real excited to get this one started for you. Obviously, this is the day before. I am going to treat this brisket as I would any brisket cook that is going to go fat side up. I am going to try to do nothing different. This is just going to be a quick trim. Like I said, the day before, all you want to do here, I know some people get freaked out by trimming a brisket, and trust me, it is not my forte. I don't really concern myself about it. I am just looking to get anything loose that is dangling, any discoloration. You want to get rid of that. You want to try to form the brisket. That is the YouTube click word that is thrown around, aerodynamics. But hey, man, I think it does help. So you want to do that. You want to leave a lot of fat on the bottom end of the brisket. Just clean it up, silver skin off. This is just going to be a kosher salt on all sides of the brisket on a tray, on a rack, in the fridge overnight. So if you live anywhere near the northeast, you know exactly what is happening here. There's snow about a foot. It is iced over. It is probably about 20 degrees or so this morning, and I dug out a nice little pathway to the Z, fired it right up, no problems there. So I am definitely digging that. It is about 4 a.m. in the morning, and I am ready to get this cook going. So I did pull the brisket out, hit it with some pepper, probably about 3 a.m., just to try to bring it up to room temperature for an hour and a half. Again, fresh cracked black pepper and a little 16 mesh pepper. Got the call. This sat in the fridge up on that rack. In a tray on a rack, probably for about 12, 13 hours or so, and I feel it definitely helps in the cooking of the brisket. You saw where the heat source was. I am going to put that the fatty point right over the heat source. Again, fat side down. We will let this go for 3 hours. Now, anytime I am doing a brisket or a pork shoulder, say, I always shut it down, or even ribs. Ribs, 2 hours. Brisket, pork shoulder, usually 3 hours with no peaks. Just let it run. That is going to help to develop that bark. And as I said in the opening, I am real curious to see how the bark is going to play out on this brisket with the fat side down. I'm not really sure if fat helps in the bark, but we shall see. Let's spray it down straight on water on the top. Check that fat. Spray some moisture there. You want to keep some liquid on that since it's above the heat source. And like all my briskets, we will just let it go for about another 2-3 hours or so. As you can see, we are 5.5 hours in. The bark is not looking too bad. It's not formed out great yet. We shall see. Let's give it another flat out water spritz. If you want to go 50-50 water, apple cider vinegar, by all means, go ahead. Other than that, we will give it a quick spritz. Let's do a little bit of a temp check here. And we should be about or close into the stall. I'm not going to boat this, as I mentioned in the opening, because I don't want to mess around with that fat cap or anything. I want to just see how the brisket is going to come out. Flat out, straight run, water spritzes for another couple hours. At that time, I will bring you guys back. So here we are, a little bit over 7 hours now, and as you can see, that bark is starting to come together a little bit, so I am definitely digging that. A quick temp check tells us we're about 180s. We still got about another 2 to 3 hours, I would say. Don't forget, we started this cook out at 275, and we've taken that right through the stall. We are probably about 2 hours away or so. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to just bump that temp up to 300. The brisket could definitely take it because I want to get this cook done so I can give it the proper rest because it is dinner time tonight and that has to happen soon. Alrighty, here we go. We are 10 hours in, and that is the bark that I am looking for. You can see a little dripping coming out of the where my finger is. I put a temp gauge in there to make sure we were close, and certainly we are. It is probing like butter. That is, look, that is check number 1. Probing like butter, check. Temperature up over 200, check. Now, again, the things we want to watch, we see the bark is pretty good, but we want to see how that fat rendered down below, and we are going to take a good look into that on the close of the show, where I will go in live, explain to you guys exactly what I am seeing as we get it down to the board. Beautiful color, right? Beautiful color. Let's get some foil on it. I've also got one of my wife's little towels. We will get it in under some towels. And again, it is quite chilly out here, but I am just going to leave it on the board, get it all covered up, let it sit probably for about 2 hours. That is about all the time I have. After that, I'll bring you guys back. We will slice it open, and then, of course, we will talk about it. Have we been doing brisket wrong all along? All righty, here we go. I've got all cameras dropped down below. I'll give you kind of play-by-play. Here I am. So the first thing I have to say is the bottom has now become the top, and the top has now become the bottom. I mean, you can't really The bark's not bad. Of course, you know, what was the top over here, which is nice and rendered. I mean, you could, I don't know if the camera is getting that in here. You could see how nice and rendered as I move that fat with my finger. Look at that. That is nice, well rendered fat, man. That is exactly what you want to see. So that is good news here. Um, the like I mentioned, the bottoms always get overcooked when you cook fat side up. So I'm curious to see how all this plays out. Let's just go right down the middle. And there is our more of our flat piece. I'm going to flip it. And here is more of our point. I am definitely digging what I see. Just give it a little bit of squeeze. We've got a nice little smoke ring forming, would you say? Now I'm gonna go fat side and just kind of give it a slice here. Oh, that is juicy. Come on, guys, that is juicy as juicy can be. I mean, the fat is nice and rendered, man. This is here's our pull apart over here. I mean, that, alrighty, and here we are. And like I said, I am definitely a little bit, well, I'm pleasantly surprised and definitely a little bit shocked. Of course, here is our burnt ends. Wow, just cutting perfectly. Let's do that taste test and talk about it. All right, guys. So look, here is the. I'm going to give you a verdict on this one. I like. I think I'm going to do fat side down from here on out. I feel like the bark wasn't really affected too much. I thought the bark would be a lot more affected. I mean, look, it's not the greatest bark here on the underside, but the fat, like I was showing you, is it's almost like peanut butter. I mean, the fat is nice and rendered down. The bark is good enough for me. You know, the flavor is spot on. The smoke ring is okay, but really, who cares about that? That is just for, like Scotty says, that is just for the neighbors to see. I feel like on pits like the on pellet grills where you've got the flame underneath, or even the Masterbuilt gravity fed where you've got all the flame coming up from underneath. I feel like cooking the fat side down on a brisket is 100% the way to go. You know the by cooking the fat up, a lot of times you get dried out here when you slice it. It kind of gets stringy over here on the bottom end. That's not going to happen with the fat down. And as far as, like I said, the fat, you know, dripping over the meat and tenderizing the meat, that's just a bunch of hockey. That has been proven, you know, there's no basis to that. That has just been proven false. So for me, from here on out, anytime I am on the Masterbuilt or the Z grills or any hard flame on the bottom, I'm going to be cooking the fat side down. I'm sold. I feel like, you know, I feel like through and through. I feel like through and through, it's just a better product, man. It's just a better brisket. I mean, so juicy, and the flavor is spot on. And I feel a little bit excited, man. I feel like the whole thing. So 100% of the brisket is cooked perfectly, where you're not going to get any drying out on the bottom because the fat. That is it for this one. I'm sold. I hope you guys give it a shot and leave down in the description, or leave down in the description if this is the way you do it when you cook on the pellets or the master built or any heat source from the bottom. That is going to put a pin in this show here. I appreciate you all for watching. My name is Tommy, and until next time, we will see you soon.